BetOnline is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for everything sports betting. Stats, matchup breakdowns, live odds, spreads to bet on during the games. Largest catalog of odds on everything football, Major League Baseball playoffs, NHL, NBA, heck, political props. When the game's over, head on over to the online casino. Get in on the game. Blackjack, poker, over 500 slot games at your disposal. Head to the website today. Get in on the action with America's most trusted site for online wagering. Bet online. The game starts here. And we welcome you to another edition of Believe in Giants. Bob Papa, two-time Super Bowl champion Carl Banks, and the Giants licking their wounds on this Monday following another one of these losses that just has you pulling the hair out of your head. 17-7, the final score. A wasted, really good defensive effort. Bad offensive play at home. It's mind-boggling how they can look so good in their road games and look so poor when they play at home in front of what was a very supportive crowd last night. The fans didn't get down on the team. You know, I expected when I was going out there for the halftime ceremony to just hear, you know, all kinds of boos and people screaming and everything else. But the defense kept the fans in the game. Those couple sacks at the end of the half, they forced a punt, everything else. But this offense just giving the fans nothing to cheer about at home, Carl.
Bob, it's a lot to unpack. But let me just start by saying in the modern NFL, it is hard for a great defensive performance or a very good defensive performance to overcome bad offensive play and bad quarterback play. You can have average, you can have above average, and that defensive effort would have been great. And we sit here today, instead of saying, yeah, the defense played well, they got a few things to clean up, but boy, did they play well. We're saying they played good enough, but it wasn't good enough. And that's the unfortunate aspect of this. If you want to kind of unpack where I thought, and this is my opinion, where I thought was kind of a fatal flaw to begin the game with is that the Giants did not play to exploit the weakness of the Cincinnati Bengals, and they kind of played to their own worst instincts. And I say that because the Cincinnati Bengals defensively were ranked, what, 30 against the run?
Yeah, 151 yards a game. Now they had B.J. Hill and the other defensive, Sheldon Rankins, had missed a couple games, so they got both of those guys back.
It's okay. They were still what they were, and you did not start the game making them prove that they weren't a 30-something ranked run defense. So you start the game and you pass the ball. No runs on the first series of the game. And what did you see? You saw your quarterback get rattled early. Now, I say you play to your own worst instincts. Well, it's no secret. Now, cat's out the bag. You get to Daniel Jones early, he does not function well. And that kind of set the tone for the game. When you go back to the first game of the season when Minnesota got after him early, he just never settled down. Same held true yesterday, but it's almost as if you did not see the fact that, hey, we can run the ball. We can get this offense in a rhythm, and not have to rely on Daniel Jones to just win a shootout because he's not built that way. He made bad decisions in the football game. There's no sugarcoating that. He did not play well. I think, again, and I'm speaking for myself. If you ask Coach Dable, he'll tell you he called the plays that he thought were going to be successful. And if they were successful, they would have been successful. I thought riding the momentum of a run game that was so good in Seattle to almost not give it the attention that it warranted against a team that 30th in the league in rushing defense. I'm going to run this thing until you prove to me that you are better than what your ranking is. And when they committed to running the football, Tracy got going, but it just wasn't enough. And I think, and again, I'm speaking for me, strategically, I would have went about it that way because this quarterback is not built to win anybody's shootout. These receivers are not built to win anybody's shootout. Play action is this quarterback's best friend. Getting safeties into the box so that you can get behind the defense is what they can do best. But lining up in shotgun and just going and going and going, hey, look, teams are going to sit on this because teams are going to sit on the slants. They pretty much know what it is. You know, you're going to get some down and distance stuff on some short gains, but you're not taking the defense out of what they feel that they can do against you when you pass the football. The offensive line had its worst day. And I think, again, the Cincinnati game was kind of an outlier. And, it was a bad performance, right? But compared to what they put out there yesterday, they just did not have a good game. And again, I'm speaking for Carl. If I wanted to get my offense in rhythm, and I have a team that's taking the field that's 30th in run defense, I am going to run the football because that way I can get my offensive linemen in some type of rhythm, and then they can kind of dictate the terms of, run pass, play action pass. But that didn't happen. And so what we're left with in the wake of that is a quarterback who did not play well, an offensive line that, if I'm being generous, was inconsistent, a defense that played lights freaking out against, and you talk about a real gunslinger, they did a great job. Now, first 7 points of the game. Well, let me go back. I've said all year, your best players have to be your best players, and your role players have to be attention to detail, right? On that play, the scramble. So credit Zach Taylor for knowing that, hey, if the Giants are unbalanced and they're going to go man-to-man all over the field, hey, Joe, if you see it, take off because they got their back to you. Well, the Giants were kind of overloaded to one side, and they were trying to bait Joe into doing exactly what he did. But the attention to detail by that role player was not there because they overloaded, inviting Joe to take off because they were going to loop another guy back around and Joe would have run right into his arms. But the guy that looped around ended up at the center, not at the tackle spot. And
He
that
needed one
just,
more. He needed 2 more loops.
yeah, he needed two more gaps, but he just followed his own jersey. And would have been a well-designed play. Okay, so they spot him at 7, right?
Right.
They get
It's going to
themselves
happen. The Bengals
well,
are one of the
listen,
best, 4th highest scoring team in the NFL.
right,
They're going to hit you on a big play. That's not the big play you think you're going to get hit on,
right.
but it's the opening series of game. Okay,
So again,
digest.
I say that to say, if you got anything out of your offense, that would have been a play you say, yeah, they got to clean that up. But yet, that was a play that they couldn't afford, in hindsight, that they couldn't afford to have given up. Another play where your best players have to be your best players and your role players have to be attention to detail. Another big scramble by Joe Cool, and he just lobs a Hail Mary up to Jamar Chase. Cordell Flott is not in bad coverage at all. Drew Phillips is on the double team. With all the chaos happening behind the line of scrimmage, not by where he was, he became a spectator. If he stays on the double team, while Flott is, in coverage, he doesn't see the ball coming. Phillips is the double team guy. That's an interception for your defense. But that was a key 3rd down. I believe it was 3rd down that today we should be saying, yeah, that's, you got to live with, some of the youth growing pains. But instead, it ends up being a play that they couldn't afford to give up because offensively, they could not get anything going. So, we're here and your quarterback did not play well. Simple as that. He made the worst decision. When they finally got a drive going, Bob, they get the ball to, I believe it's like the 20-yard line. Protection, it is what it is. He was under duress. That's okay. Now you're under duress, but also as a quarterback, you've got to have situational awareness. What is that situational awareness? Hey, I can't throw an interception. I can't turn the ball over. I'm in field goal range right here at the 20-yard line. So whatever
14-yard line.
14-yard line. With his drop back, he's 20 yards away, whatever. The worst thing that could happen for me is that I should either eat this football or throw it out of bounds, right? So he's under pressure. Again, that's the inconsistency of the O-line play. That has nothing to do with the ultimate decision that the quarterback makes there. The quarterback thinks he's making the right decision and throwing the ball away. The worst place you can be under duress that you can put a ball is in the middle of the football field. So he just throws it up. He ain't getting it out of the back of the end zone. But to his left, he could just throw it out to the sideline because he's sliding to his left, turn and throw it away, take a grounding call, or take a sack. There are 3 alternatives. None of them included throwing a alley-oop in the middle of the field.
As your arm's getting hit.
As your arm's getting hit. You're sliding left, throw it away. But this is the situational awareness that the guy who handles the football every down has to be in the moment of. And that was a vapor lock. That was an awful decision. Awful.
Yeah, I mean, look, the drive got kept alive by a defensive holding call, appropriate call.
Mm-hmm.
Robinson catches a 7-yard pass. Tracy runs for a yard. 3rd and 2. Slayton gets the first down at the 43. Tracy rips off a 14-yard run. Wandell catches a 15-yard pass. You got a 1st and 10 at the 14-yard line. Now, I know the play design was an over route to Theo Johnson. But as Jones takes the snap, There's complete breakdown in protection. So BJ Hill is storming at him. Now, I know everybody says he could have taken Tracy in the flat, but the rush was coming from his right side as he's trying to get out of the way. Don't know if he could have gotten the ball to Tracy. Everyone's saying, well, he should have quickly thrown it to Tracy. Maybe. They thought they had this deep over, but he has to see that the safety's sitting back there. And the deep over was never going to work. So just get rid of it. Take a sack. So what? It's 2nd and 16 at the 20. You got 2 downs to make up that yardage and maybe get a first down. And as I said on the post-game show, that can't happen in year 6.
Nope.
You want to say that Spencer Rattler of New Orleans in his first start makes that mistake? All right, fine. You want to say a rookie quarter? You can't make that. You just can't make that mistake. And then, you get a big play on 3rd and 3 at the Giant 42. Brian Burns tackles Moss for a 4-yard loss. You get the ball in the second quarter, and you're driving it on the first possession, the second quarter. 3rd and 8, you got Wan'Dale Robinson wide open. Can't miss him. That's a gimme throw for an NFL quarterback.
And the thing is also, as I think Coach Dable said in his post game, you're not going to be high percentage on deep balls, but you got to hit some of them. You got to hit the ones that are hittable. Now, a lot of these deep balls are going to be contested. Just like, you had a hell of a play by Jamar Chase on the ball that Joe Burrow threw him and flots all over him, and Drew Phillips just wasn't in the area. But those are not consistent plays, right? Especially with Daniel Jones at quarterback and the type of receivers that they have right now. So you got to be able to hit that one. When a guy is open, you got to be able to hit that. So the inconsistency in that area in a game like the Cincinnati Bengals, you can't have it. Again, attention to detail by your role players. And I'm telling you now, Daniel Jones is a role player. He has to play a role. He has to, like I said, a good defensive performance can overcome average play by the offense. They cannot overcome below average play at the quarterback position on the offensive side of the ball. Because the pressure you put on the defense to be effing perfect when they just made play after play after play is insurmountable. So as a role player, your attention to detail, you are a role player. Daniel Jones, your role is to manage this offense, make great decisions with the football, and keep the train running on time.
But Carl, isn't it fair enough to say, though, that the quarterback, in order to be a very successful team in the league, that your quarterback has to be more than just, he's got to play his role, but he's also got to play above his role.
Right. Don't misunderstand what I'm saying. The way in the construct of this team, and if we want to just take last night, right? Your defense, that's where your best players were. Your offense, your quarterback, keep the train on time. Your role, that is your role, right? I'm not even asking when you have the Cincinnati Bengals basically stuck on 7 points for nearly 3 quarters. I'm not asking you to be a hero. Keep the trains on track.
Yeah, I mean,
take advantage of the opportunities when they present themselves.
That's a, I know it's a long throw after the drop back, but it's not like a go route. That's just a deep cross that should be a 20-yard pickup.
Well, he overthrew it, so it wasn't that long of a throw. He overthrew it.
He overthrew him. So then your defense says, okay, no worries, we got your back. And they get a 3 and out. And now you go on another drive. And now you got the ball at the 40-yard line. Try a deep ball to Slayton. It's incomplete. hand fighting down the way. Slayton was grabbing, the other guy was grabbing. I had no issues with no call there. But then on 2nd and 10, you get 6 to get yourself in manageable 3rd and 4. But what do you get? Again, you get an illegal shift, attention to detail. Now you're behind the chain, 2nd and 15. Tracy gets nothing on a run. Next thing you know, you're punting the ball away. And it's just, you sit there and you say to yourself, man, these opportunities, then you hold them to 1 first down, you force another punt, you start at your 9, and you run an RPO and you get 56 yards. You're only down 7-0 at this point. And what do you get? A legal man downfield.
Yeah.
And you can say, well, that's really tough with the RPO and they think they're run blocking. But it's not like 4 guys were downfield. It was 1 guy.
Right. And
Andrew Thomas.
And the thing is, it's not like that play is not in the playbook. So they actually know how they should operate, meaning the offensive linemen. They know on RPO they can only go so far. And Andrew Thomas knew it because he, was kind of disgusted with himself for being that far down the field. So attention to detail.
Listen, you can't win in the NFL when you score 7 points to start with.
And your longest play is 15 yards.
Yeah. I mean, the Bengals had a streak of 75 straight games in which they have given up 10 or more points in a game. You got to go back to 2019, the last time they held a team to under 10 points. So you take that and you take the fact that your longest offensive play from scrimmage was 15 yards. Nobody is winning in the NFL with that number.
The only way they're winning in the NFL is they're averaging 15 yards a play. But this is just this is just the longest play that they have from scrimmage. You can win the NFL if you're averaging 15 yards a play, or if you're averaging 7 yards a carry like they did in Seattle, or 6 yards a carry like they did in Seattle. But I go back to my original point, is that they play to their own worst instincts. If you know and you believe that Daniel Jones is your best chance to win football games, then you've got to play to his strengths, whatever you think they are. And one of his weaknesses, we know for a fact, is that once you get to him early, he does not make great decisions with the football. So how do you alleviate that? How do you get him in a rhythm? That's the question you have to ask yourself. Because if, again, for whatever, people think about Daniel Jones, until they change him, they got to figure out a way to make it work with him. Right? And that's just the bottom line. If they make the change, they're going to make a change. If they don't, if they believe that Daniel Jones gives them the best chance to win, and this is not unique to the Giants, but you have to do things that will keep this quarterback in the right space. You have to avoid the things that you know are red flags. And then you emphasize to him, now you got to make good decisions with the football and operating our offense. So he doesn't function well under duress with pressure early in the game. You allowed that to happen. This is Carl Banks speaking. I'm not speaking for Brian Daboll, or I'm giving you what my analysis is and strategic thinking. So you allow, because you're passing the ball more than you're even running against a team that's not good against the run, you allow that pressure to get to your quarterback. Now it's impacting him. And now you want to execute certain plays. He's off target. He's rushed. His decision-making, his processing from receiver to receiver is no longer there. And now you're just kind of trying to find a play. And you just look like it was, let's see if this works. Let's see if that works. Let's see if this works. And I say again, you want to get him in a rhythm. to his safe space and comfortable space. You got to give him, not him running the football, but you got to run the football. That's who you are right now. You don't have a gunslinger. That guy is in Buffalo, right? He can throw you back in the game. This guy can throw you out of a game. So you've got to stay within what he can do. And I know there are enough plays on Brian Dable's call sheet to do that because he did it in Seattle. So, and he's done it prior to Seattle. He did it in Cleveland, right? So the thing is, and I mean, you mentioned it after the game. You said there's some soul searching that needs to be done. No, it isn't. The answers are in front of your face. If you believe that Daniel Jones is your best chance, then you're going to have to do the things that give you and him the best chance for victory, because a great defensive effort can overcome average offensive play and average defensive play. Yeah, it shouldn't be like, in a perfect world, it shouldn't be that way, folks. But this is reality. This is football. You play the cards you're dealt, right? If the strength of your team is your defense, then you say to your offense, if it ain't broke, don't break it. Just do the things, don't put us in jeopardy, right? So you've got to do the things that says, okay, this is what my quarterback, this is his comfort zone. I need to make sure that we have to run the football because we're really good at it. We did it well last week. This team doesn't defend it well. We got to pound this thing, and we're going to play action because Daniel Jones is good at play action, and then he can go through his process. But when he's under duress early, all that processing, all the progressions, they go out the window. And when those progressions go out the window, guess who his safety blanket is, Bob?
Darius Slayton.
Darius Slayton. So that means you're looking at Darius Slayton and there's a second level receiver behind him that's open, but you don't see him because right now your processor is all out of whack, right? So how do you keep your quarterback out of those situations? How do you keep your offensive line out of those situations, right? You run the football. You figure out how to run the football and you make an effort. When teams are not good against stopping runs, just like in the Dallas game, I bet you if they had stayed with it, they would have started to have the same success that every other team since the Giants and before the Giants had against Dallas.
You're right, Carl. Darius Slayton, like a perfect example. The 4th and 2 at in the fourth quarter. I mean, he's just eyeballing them the whole way. He didn't even wait. Wan'Dale Robinson was starting to clear, and he was going to him regardless. We don't know. A lot of times in the NFL, 2 plays are sent in. But like early in the fourth quarter, Tracy has a 5-yard catch, got 2nd and 5, incompletion, and then you miss what you got. You got to make a 47-yard field goal. It's just inexcusable.
Yeah.
And then the other drive at the Cincinnati 35, Tracy kind of slips on the 3rd and 1 run, 3rd and 2. Ball goes right to Slayton. Carl, I don't understand. One thing that baffles me to no end, the Giants moved the ball in Washington relatively easily. And even in the third quarter, Singletary fumbles, you had a drop deep ball, an overthrown deep ball. Neighbors dropped the 4th down pass, but Washington really couldn't stop them.
Right.
Cleveland couldn't stop the Giants. Again, you had a Singletary fumble in the third quarter and another misfire on a deep ball. Then Neighbors dropped a deep ball. They won the game. Seattle, they're moving the ball up and down the field, up and down the field. If Gray doesn't fumble going, that's a blowout. I can't get over how bad they are offensively at home.
Well,
it makes no sense. These are the same players.
But it's not the same game plan. Again, and, I'm speaking for Carl. As I have praised Coach Dable because I do believe he's a hell of a play caller. I just think he probably should have left a few crayons in the box. I think he should have played to the strengths that he knew he had versus the weakness of the opponent. Yes, the opponent gets paid too. Yes, the opponent knows that they're bad versus the run. Your job is to make them continue to stay in that mindset. No different than in a scouting report. I guarantee you, in Cincinnati, their defensive coordinator said, here's our scouting report. Daniel Jones, get to him early, he'll make bad decisions. They can run the football, and play action is where they're most dangerous, and our safety is going to have to have dual responsibilities, because if they get the run game going, they can really hurt us down the field. Giants don't get the run game going because they decided to pass the football, and it worked to Cincinnati's advantage because their scouting report says if you can get to Daniel Jones early, it impacts his decision making. That's where we got to where we were. And I say, really good defense performance, great defensive performance would have been not giving up the play to Joe Burrow, right? Or the Drew Phillips, but you live with the growing pains of a rookie. But this is a damn good performance. Can overcome average offensive play. When you're playing the way the Giants were defensively, you can overcome average play because all you're asking them to do is to take advantage of the opportunities that are there for you offensively and on special teams, meaning the kickers, right? Because your defense saying, hey, no problem, we'll get it back for you. No problem, we'll make them punt. No problem, we'll create a turnover. No problem, we're going to sack the quarterback. You take the field, don't break it. Just go out and manage. And again, as long as the Giants believe that Daniel Jones gives them their best opportunity, then they got to help him help them. Simple. That's not an excuse. And like I said, and I've been consistent, I am going to root for the guys they have out there. I'm a Giants fan. But I will say, if this is what you believe gives you the best chance, then help him help you. You have to look at what he does best, whatever it is. But if he does that best, it gives you a chance. The way your defense is playing, it gives you a chance. But you cannot play to your worst instincts. You cannot, listen, it ain't going to change. Like you said, there's a 6-year sample size, right? Decision making. Give him the type of stuff where he can make good decisions because he's in the rhythm of when he makes those decisions. Like we've had a 3-game stretch, right? My timeline is a true indicator of folks in their rage towards this organization and Daniel Jones. For 3 weeks in a row, my timeline was quiet. I didn't take a victory lap. I'm like, I'm just going to see how this thing goes with Daniel Jones, right? And we come on this pod, and the most we'll say is, hey, he made great decisions with the football, and he operated the offense well, and he made some big plays for them, right? The 1 week that he just basically played awful, my timeline's on fire again. Everybody's triggered again. I get it. Not going to tell them they can't be. But it was all good just a week ago, to quote Jay-Z in Too Short. But this is, when you don't play well, people are triggered back to the things that they've been harping on that they didn't like about you to begin with. So that 3-week sample of you operating in the offense and making good decisions with the football and only having 1 interception on a Hail Mary, out the window. people were quiet because I think they were like, okay, let's just see how this works. Let's see how this goes, right? And now you put one stinker up against three, games where you manage the offense well. That one stinker has now lit this thing on fire again. And it is, you're bad, your owner's bad, your general manager's bad, your coach is bad, and everybody out. A week ago, the coach was a great play caller, right? And he's no less of a play caller this week. But I don't think they play to their strengths. That's my opinion. And again, folks, I'm not coming at anybody who is triggered today. I get it. I totally get it. I'm not going to be your punching bag because you're triggered. So
yeah, you're right.
Don't come
right.
at me. But I get it, and you're justified in being triggered, right? But because you've been patient. You had Minnesota. He course corrected. They course corrected offensively. And I think you guys were quiet. You wanted to see how long this was going to go. And he gave you a 3-game sampling of, okay, he can manage an offense and they can keep the trains running, right? And then on that, was it the 5th game? It goes up in smoke and you guys are triggered back to all the things that you were saying all summer that kind of quieted down. And you saw that, coach can coach and players can play, blah, 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 blah. And it went out the window because you threw an interception in the middle of the field, whereas a quarterback in his 6th year who's had plenty of NFL experience, and I say the operative word is quarterback, you've got to be a better decision maker. And you have to constantly, your job, aside from throwing the football is secondary to making great decisions. Ask any quarterback. If you make the right reads, you make right decisions. Throwing the football is easy if you have any type of ability. He's at the stage, you cannot have these brain farts. You cannot vapor lock. If you're in a rhythm and you moving the ball down the field, let the people in the stands get excited. You got to stay locked in because the role players have to be attention to detail. Your best players have to be your best players. And your job is to be that role player. Now, you can be their best role player and you can be their best player at times, but your role right now, make great decisions with the football because you're driving. And all you got to do, here's a rush. I'm in scoring position right now. If I do nothing else, don't break it. If it ain't broke, don't break it. Throw the ball out of bounds, throw it into the ground, eat it. Take the sack. The last thing you can do is throw the ball where the most people on the defense are, in the middle of the field. And it doesn't even come close to going out the back of the end zone. It didn't even reach the end zone. So it's going to be, again, I'll say, as long as they believe that he is their best chance to win, they've got to help him help them. Because this defense, they're beyond a tendency. They're trending now. They're trending as a damn good defense. And now you got to look at what you have. And if you believe he gives you your best chance to win, and nobody in the social media sphere can determine that for you. You see these guys every day. So if you believe that he's your best chance, then you got to help him help you. You got to help him help them. You got to help him help himself by doing the things that he can do well, calling the plays, putting your team in the best positions. And then you got to insist that this quarterback, you fucking stay in the moment. Don't vapor lock when we got something going If you think you're going to vapor lock, take a sack. When in doubt, take the sack. When in doubt, throw it in the ground. If we got something good going, don't screw it up. Just, hey, we're going to give you the plays. If they ain't here, you throw the ball in the dirt, we can live with a penalty. We can live with a loss of down when we're ready to score. Take the sack. Throw it away. Throw it to the first, go to the closest exit, right? Don't go to the furthest exit if you're trying to escape. Get out the side door. That's the closest exit. That's what you have to do.
There's some fans that are filling up our timelines that are absolutely basket cases. Okay?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Good. You guys think that Daniel Jones stinks? Fine. Fine. But to think that Carl and I have some kind of influence with ownership or the GM or the head coach. We didn't sign him to a contract. We're not calling the plays. We're not at practice. We're not evaluating who should start or who shouldn't. You know, one of these fans says, you know, in his Twitter handle or whatever, his X handle, you know, stand solidarity with Joe Shane. Well, then stand solidarity with Joe Shane. Like, they're making decisions based on the best of their ability for football decisions. If you think one thing that we say or our, hey, look, we've both been Daniel Jones supporters. We believe that there was something there. I will maintain that what he's been through did not help his development as a young player with all these coaches and GMs and everything else. Hey, if you don't think he should be the quarterback of the Giants moving forward, that's your opinion. That's great. And it's a 17-game test. And he has failed on 3 of the tests so far, or 4 of the tests. So the Washington game is less on him and more on the fact that they didn't have a kicker. But like, for you guys to think that telling half truths and covering for their incompetence or whatever, like, guys, we don't have that kind of clout. We're just giving our opinions, educated opinions on things.
Yeah.
And look, Daniel Jones is proving the naysayers correct. He's 1-14 in prime time. The Giants have averaged what, 9 points a game at home so far this year?
Yeah.
But
so that's
have at it. Like, that's your opinion.
Yeah, I
but
mean,
don't drag us down in there with it.
If I will stand on every word I say or have said, and I have said that I believe in Daniel Jones' skill set. I have also said that he's got to go out and prove it. I also have said that when he doesn't play well, I'm going to call it out. And we have said that he has not had a supporting cast, but that's not to exclude bad play. It's just we understand that certain factors come into play. That's not an excuse, right? As I sit here today, as long as Daniel Jones is the Giants quarterback and they believe that he's their best chance, I'm going to support him. I'm going to support every one of those players. Just like somebody wanted to, you know, try to shit on Brian Burns as if he's not a great player. And I defended it because I know I watch the games. I don't watch his salary. I watch the games. I don't watch the stats where, never mind, but watch the player. Don't watch his salary. Don't compare his salary with somebody in another system. He is doing what they're asking him to do. And last night you saw why they pay him the big bucks. Azeez Ojulari, never wavered on him. I said if he's healthy, he's an impact player, right? I didn't throw him out with the trash. I said he's just got to stay healthy. So I am pretty confident in the things I say. I don't know it all, but I fucking know this. I know this game pretty good. I know how to evaluate them, right? And I'm not jumping out the window as some fanboy. I will tell you something about somebody's ability, and I think you're the same. We've been working together for a very long time. We watch film together. We know how this thing operates, right? I'm not going to be emotional and do the fans' bidding and shitting on coaches and players. I'm going to call balls and strikes. Just like I said, Carl Banks thought that the Giants should have run the ball more. to, number one, insulate their quarterback, and number two, play to the Bengals' weaknesses. That's me. That's what I said, right? If I'm covering, I would be saying, well, Giants just have to execute the plays that are called. Well, yeah, that's true. But I thought strategically I would have approached it a different way, but I'm not the coach. So miss me with the bullshit in my timeline. We can have a debate. We can have a lot of things, but I'm not responsible for your emotions. I give you my opinion. I think it's pretty educated. You can like it or not. I don't tell you how to think. I don't tell you how to fan unless you're rooting for a player to get hurt. That's the only problem I got with you, right? Other than that, you can do what you want. But anyway, they have to do things better. This quarterback has to be better at what he does as well.
All right, we're going to be back later in the week. We got, obviously, it's going to be Saquon Barkley pandemonium as the week goes on with the Eagles coming into town. And that's obviously a pivotal game for the Giants, a chance to climb back in the mix. But if the quarterback doesn't play any better,
it's not out of control though, Bob. This division is not out of reach, and you're playing defense at a high clip. Offensively, keep the trains on the track. Let your defense continue to give you opportunities. And then strategically, play to your strengths. Do the things that keep your quarterback comfortable. That gives you the best chance to win. And I believe, as talented as the Eagles are, they have their issues too. You got to try to exploit their issues as well. But it's a different challenge. Every week they face just elite receivers. The Eagles have two of them and a pretty damn elite running back. So they got to be on it defensively. But listen, Shane Bowen, for all of you guys who after one game thought the bend and break was not built for New York, well, he gets, he's a professional. He's been around this league long enough, and you can see he can fucking call a defense. And these young players, again, hats off to Cordell Flott, because I thought he played well again against his biggest challenge of the year. Because you couldn't hide Flott, because they were going to put Chase wherever they were going to put Chase. And if it wasn't Chase, it was Pickens. So hats off to the way they're coaching this team. And because the defense is the strength of this team, stay locked in, because they need you to carry the load. I've been on teams like that with a defense that, hey, if the offense is struggling, it's a team sport. We just got to do a little bit more to keep giving them opportunities. And that's what the Giants did. The Giants
listen, Phil Simms will be the first to tell anybody who will listen. The 14-2 1986 season, the offense was garbage for half the year. The defense carried the team. It kind of unlocked with the 4th and 17 to Bobby Johnson, but it wasn't like it was some unbelievable offensive juggernaut from week 1 through week 16 and then through the playoffs.
Yeah.
But eventually they got clicking and they got the running game going and everything else. But in the early part of the season, Simms will be the first to tell you they were struggling.
Listen, and that for us, it wasn't too much.
Hold on, wait a second. For these rabbit ear folks out there, I'm not trying to compare Daniel Jones to Phil Simms. For those of you that only hear anything as some, I'm just giving a separate example of
how the game works. How about that? This is how the game works. When you have a strength of your team, you have to be that guy, that unit that says, don't worry, we got you. We'll get it back. Because that's what we did with Phil until the offense became complementary. And then we were off and running. So defense, stay locked in. No time for victory laps, because your team needs you more than you can imagine right now.
All right, Carl, we'll be back later in the week to preview the Eagles game.
I got a question for you.
Yeah, hopefully I have an answer.
Did you have your cherry juice today?
Oh, yes. Yes, I did this morning. I'm glad that you brought that up, because Cherubundi. Yes, my tart cherry. I had it this morning. Obviously, it was a late night last night. Had to get up early this morning. do the serious show and now record this podcast, and helps you sleep. More importantly, this time of year, cold and flu, support your immunity. It's called Cherubundi. It's a natural product. There's no added sugars. Tart cherries are the highest antioxidant fruit or vegetable in the world. And every NFL team uses it. Super Bowl champion teams have used it. Most of the NCAA football and basketball national champions have it in their facility. And you can have it in your facility. It's available on Amazon, cherubundi.com, retailers nationwide, including Publix and Kroger. That's how I started my day off. I'm making sure every day I get the Cherubundi.
I ended my night with it because I knew I was only going to have 4 hours of sleep and I didn't want to be disrupted. So I love doing the shots. That's my thing. I got boxes of those shots. So I just take one out, throw it in the fridge, or put a few in the fridge. And last night when I got home, which was like 1 o'clock in the morning, I took a shot, went to sleep, had a good night's rest for the 5 hours I got.
I should have taken it last night, now that you think about it.
See?
Because it got natural melatonins in it.
Helps you sleep.
I may double down today. I had one this morning. I'm gonna knock one down tonight before I go to sleep.
It's all healthy, so there's no ODing on cherries.
Yeah, and especially after sitting up and grinding over probably a frustrating Yankee game, and then watching Monday Night Football with the Bills and Jets. So yes, I'm glad you asked me that question, because yes, Cherubundi. You know, Carl, a lot of times when we end the show, we say, tell a friend. We always say, tell a friend, tell a friend. But listen, if you're a subscriber, make sure you like these podcasts, whether it's on YouTube or your audio platforms. Send in some reviews, because, we want to get, your participation, your comments, your likes, your reviews of Believe in Giants. Doesn't cost you anything to subscribe to it. So keep those reviews and likes and shares coming, so we can keep Believe in Giants rolling along. How do we like to end this show, Carl?
Tell a friend to tell a friend.
Believe in Giants.